Call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilman Harjo.
Here.
Councilwoman Werlicka.
Present.
Sorry. Councilman Brennan.
Present.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Present.
Mayor Sykes.
Present. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. Run down to department head comments. We'll start out with Chief Moore.
Mayor, Council, for the month of February, with weather permitting and accessibility to the grounds, given our weather conditions, we're going to do a lot of hose vent work and fire tactic stuff in some of our newly going up 3-story additions. So that'll be good. In the event that we're not able to do that, we're going to be working at one of our buildings in Sequel, doing our thing up there. The intent is, my goal is at the end of February, if not then, certainly in March, we're going to burn one of those buildings down. So try to catch those bigger buildings when we have the winter weather with us.
Fantastic. Chief Thompson.
Mayor, Council, good afternoon. There are 3 applicants. We've got 2 of those in background right now. The other one decided to drop out of the process to pursue something different. We saw on Facebook from our department, we are starting our community academy at the end of February on the 28th. It's a 6-week program for citizens to come in, see how we operate, see how we do things. Applications are online for that program. We got a lot of good feedback from that, and we started our lens lock lighting and camera implementation training today. We had 4 hours as well.
Fantastic. Shasta.
Mayor, Council, we have our Friends of the Library book sale going on this Friday and Saturday. And teens, if they are in need of volunteer hours, they can come Thursday afternoon to help the friends set it up. They need muscle to help move those boxes of books. We do have Richard McKenna students. They're always up for volunteer hours. We usually ask them if they need any volunteer hours to help out. So we've got some hands coming, but we can always use more hands. So Thursday afternoon after school. And then the book sale runs from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., both on Friday and Saturday. And just a reminder, that's how we fund activities like our American Girl Tea Party, as well as our Dangerous Day for Boys, as well as our Santa Night, and many other activities they're able to fund, like our Adult Craft Night. So that's this weekend. We also have our Fun with Braille for our junior hangouts, and that's for ages 9 to 15. So they'll be learning the Braille alphabet and then spelling their name in Braille. And then the next night, on the 30th, we'll have our interactive movie night, and we're showing Toy Story with our new sound equipment. So come hang out and get a prop bag and enjoy a classic, honestly. We're very proud of the Extreme Book Nerds, and the new challenge has started, so come see if you can read 50 books in a year and do it within a set of challenges that we provide each year, and they're different every year. We also wanted to thank patrons that have given us quotes about why the library is important to them, and I will be sharing that with all of the city council members. I shared it with our city council liaison, Scott Harjo, but I will share that link with the rest of you today.
Fantastic. Brenda.
Well, I'm settling into my new role, and every time I turn around and think my inbox is completed, 15 or 20 more come in, so I'm trying to tackle that. But as far as planning and zoning goes, we don't have anything on our upcoming hearing except for doing some land use ordinance discussion. So we'll be doing that, and we'll be continuing to do that hopefully every meeting that we do have throughout the year. And then also we will have some amended preliminary plats and PUDs coming forward, and then our final plats. It's kind of in the docket. So we do have things coming forward, nothing brand new to tell with regards to anything new development as far as that goes.
That's
Well, first, thank you guys that came out to Turner House Development ribbon cutting last week. We actually were covered by the Statesman, and KTVB even did a piece on it. So while cameras weren't down, we still got our name out in the press. That's exciting stuff. Coming up for us, we are going, I say we, it's now me and Brenda, going to the Eastern Treasure Valley electrical plan with Idaho Power. Meeting 4 out of 5 is going to be this Thursday for us, and that's us working with Idaho Power to decide what the next 5 to 10 years looks like on placing substations, distribution lines, learning way more things about power than I thought I'd ever learn. But that's been really exciting. We started that back in, I believe, November, kind of starting those plans, and this Thursday we're going to really solidify where those substations look, what they look like, where they could be at in our town in the future. Overall, on the communication side, just kind of working with department heads about getting our message out there. We've been kind of coming up with new ideas on where else we can put information out there. You guys know we did Mondays with the mayor. Well, we're now going to try to put that on our website. We're going to work with the newspaper about getting maybe an ad placed once a month so we can get some of that information out to readers of all ages, to say the least. And then I'm working on State of the City starting this week. So department heads, you've been warned that I'll be asking you for your top 5 accomplishments from last year, but you don't need to be on camera this year. So, but I'll email you guys all that this probably tomorrow or Thursday. That's a wrap.
Fantastic. Chris?
Mr. Mayor, Council, a couple of things from each department. Streets, the project for 6th Street that we paused for winter. We've had our first meeting. We're going to pick that up. Targeting the week of February 15th. There's some things that we're going to try and have added to that project, which include extensions from American Legion out to 12th, but we don't have the quote back on that yet. As soon as we have it, obviously we'll bring it to the council and see if we can maybe do an amendment to that. But we are on target to start taking the trees down and doing that and getting that new line put in. The target date right now for completion is late April to have that entire project, including the extensions. So we're pretty excited about that. Snow removal went well. We didn't have any catastrophic failures on any of your equipment, which is really nice. We had O-rings, that kind of stuff blow, but nothing that was terrible. And then this water, the melt off, went really well. We didn't have any of the systems overflow. We were able to get out and look at like Chucker Circle and some of those projects that we did fix through the last year or two, and like Chucker Circle flowed so well. So that we think was a huge success to see how that went. On the water part, well 17, we did get a sample pulled off of that. It's out for, we haven't got the results back, but we're anticipating that we're going to be able to move forward with that. We did get the well house bid back, and as you know, it came in 1.6. We'll bring that to the council first week of February, or the first meeting of February. And then just for an FYI, we're looking at a bulk water system upgrade. Right now, the way that we do it, people take a key and it's kind of inefficient, so we're looking at bringing like a gas pump style system online where they come up, they can swipe, take bulk water. We can track it better, and it'll be honestly a lot easier for the public to use. So that's something we're looking at there. Wastewater, we didn't have a real good couple of weeks in wastewater. The Raptor out at the treatment facility is down. The Raptor separates garbage from the rest of the flow at the waste facility, so the guys right now are going out there twice a day and clearing the screens. We do have some bids coming in and parts on order. It's going to be less than $5,000 to fix that. So as soon as we get that, obviously we'll let everybody know about that. We had 2 lift station failures, pump failures. Lift station 3, which is directly across from Public Works on right off of Highway 30. Both of those pumps failed. They were put in 2001. They have a 15-year life expectancy, so not a huge shock that they failed. They're about 30 grand a piece. We've gone out for 3 quotes, and as soon as we get the 3 quotes back, we'll make sure we run that by this board and get approval to go forward with repairing that. One last thing that I have for everybody is the landfill. I know that's a topic that I'm going to try and bring up every couple of weeks and give you updates on it. We're going to go out with Keller. Keller believes that the area that the landfill currently is described as is smaller than what the map shows. So we're going to do some test holes out there. If we can shrink that, it'll speed up the process of closure. So we're going to do that next week. We were going to do it last week. Snow happened. Any questions for me?
Mayor, you let Rich leave without finishing that?
Trust me, that was a bane of ELT, every ELT.
It's on the top of my board, Mr.
Alrighty, Tiff? Paula? Okay. All right, we'll run down to conflicts of interest and declarations. As any council members? Councilman Brennan?
Before we start formal business, could I make a motion to amend our agenda, adding an executive session after final comments? Tiffany, can you help me with
B and F.
I think you wanted B and F.
I don't have the whole thing in front of me.
Hey, Scott, do you have the little page on your?
I don't have that page, unfortunately.
Regarding Idaho Statute 74-206, subsection B and F.
There's been a motion?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
All right. And then I'll do these other two here in a second. Has any council member received any information pertaining to otherwise had any contact with any person regarding items on this city council agenda? If so, please set forth nature of contact.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Workla?
Yeah, underneath new business, I did get an email from a Megan Champion on a response on public services. Number 9 on new business, I did contact Mountain Home School District Superintendent James Gilbert to get clarification on where the remaining 80% was coming from for the community funding grant project. And number 10, I spoke with Sergeant Joshua Martinez on his views with the training facility access.
Copy that. Okay. Councilman Brennan?
I received the same email about the trash rates on item 2 under new business. I also spoke to Josh Martinez and Alan Roberts concerning item, item 10.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I had all of those same contacts this week.
And I have, okay, I think it's consensus, all 5 of us have had the same. Okay, going to get consent agenda, but I would like to amend the city council agenda, or let me, or I guess reiterate, I'm going to pull number 3 on new business. And then I'd like to amend the city council agenda to add number 13 into new business, Highway 30 lift station. Councilman Brennan?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda, adding item number 13 to new business, which is the Highway 30 lift station, declaring it an emergency, and we need to act quick to get that fixed.
Second.
Removing 3.
Sorry.
And pulling number 3 on new
And
business.
yep, pulling number 3 off of new business. Mayor, do you want number 4 as well, or they're almost the same thing?
Yep, pull 4.
Okay. As well as number 4.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
I do have a question on number 10. Was there a request for that one to be pulled as
No.
well? No?
No. It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Okay. And executive session. Okay, let's run down to consent agenda. Council, do you have anything on the consent agenda that you'd like to discuss, poll, talk about more in depth?
Mayor, I have one item.
Yes, sir.
This is kind of a standard procedure for me, so to speak, but on item G on the consent agenda, which is a resolution to declare surplus property, section 3, I'd just like to strike salvage. Allow the city clerk or designee to to dispose of the property by auction only.
Tiffany?
So, not always when they go to auction do they end up being sold. So then at auction, then they're technically been salvaged. So that's why that got placed in.
Okay.
They become essentially there's no monetary value coming back.
Okay. Then I guess like it to say that it'll go to auction first.
Correct.
And if it doesn't sell, then salvage is appropriate.
In most cases, that's exactly what we do. But
If we can we word it similar to that? So it just takes away the option to just throw stuff away.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Everybody else okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Any others? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the changes on item G to reflect go to auction before salvage property.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Hajo?
Aye.
Okay. Let's run down to new businesses, things that were removed, there were none. We'll run down to action item number 2, deliberation decision regarding consumer price index for increase for public services per their waste and recycling collection contract for city residents and commercial services. Rochelle, come on down.
Hello, Mayor and Council, and Chad Murphy's with me. If you want to come up, Chad, too?
You say Chad's not going to come up here with
So,
you?
I know, he will come up here. My name is Rochelle Klein, so I have been working for the city of Mountain Home 18 years and in my job, and this is Chad, and Chad's been here for 20
years.
and we're just dedicated to trash collection and even more. So just a little, before I even start, I'll just tell you a cute little story that turned out well. So here in Mountain Home, we have a drop site for cardboard for people who want to carry their own cardboard and recycle it. And our driver picked it up just last week, I think it was, and took it to Western Recycling in Boise and dumped the cardboard container on the floor on Cole and Overland, and a cat ran out. And we called the transfer station people and said, a cat ran out, and they said, oh, it's one that's been living out here for, 7 years. We brought it in accidentally on a truck. It was a kitten that we dumped in, and they raised it. So now it's loose on Cole and Overland, so they asked if we could briefly shut down operations and try to catch the terrified cat at the recycling center by Costco. And we did, and it took us 2 hours, and we got in a bathroom, and they came and got it and took it back, and it's now back at the transfer station. So it was a good New Year's story for all involved. And now the cat doesn't go anywhere close to the cardboard recycling container. So we don't always have that kind of success, but this one time it turned out. So anyway, a couple of things before we even talk about the rate increase. This is just a summary. Usually I try to come to the city in January with the summary of statistics from the prior year, and you can see in here the average household threw away 190 pounds. It's pretty similar for like the last 10 years what people have been throwing away. Chad's crew does a good job, so you can see throughout the year, assuming most people have their, I think it's like a 95%, you assume people have their trash out, 285,034 trash lifts. So we're one of the only groups that touches every house every single week. Mail generally does too, unless someone has a post office box, and when needed we work with the police to, we keep eyes on the streets, and if there's trouble we're often the ones to see it first because we are by every household. And so we also have people who connect with their neighbors. So we just recently had a driver who was in Star, and with the weather we had an elderly gentleman fall and he hit his head, and he actually had to have it stapled in. It was really scary, and so we just seem to be everywhere all the time, trash does, and so we were able to get emergency services there, and he got in, and he's doing okay, and he wrote a really nice letter to the driver, who is pretty young, so it's kind of scary when you're first you're worried about everything else, and then you see something like that. So just to let you know, you guys know we are here as part of the community and more than just picking up your trash and recycling. So but that being said, you guys are great recyclers. On average, you'll see a weekly set-out rate is 54.1%, and that's really because people only get to put it out every other week, so weekly, people sometimes have 2 carts. So we have just under 100% participation. So almost everybody uses their blue recycling carts in town. And we capture 21 pounds per household per month, which is higher than average. Usually it's about 18 pounds. And the reason that's kind of a big deal is because materials have been lightweighted over the years. Like, people generally don't read the newspaper anymore. It's all online, and water bottles have gotten lighter. It's not like the big robust water bottles. So with the lightweighting of materials, to continue to capture more is a pretty big deal, you know. So people don't get as many catalogs or newspapers delivered or things like that. So maybe a lot of Amazon users, I'm not sure, but a lot of recycling goes on here. So the pricing wasn't that significant last year. I mean, it was almost $100 a ton to recycle. We still think that's the right thing to do. The markets have bounced up and down over the years. The cost to cover that last year was almost $3,700 that we were upside down. That bounces up and down, and when that comes back, then we share the upside with the city. So we believe that markets will return again and be positive. And part of that will hopefully happen in the next couple of years. I don't have a crystal ball, but we did recently buy Western Recycling. We did that as it runs across the southern part of Idaho. And we did that in part because we are opening a new plastics polymer center in Las Vegas. So we will take the plastics from Idaho, and those will go to Las Vegas, where they'll be ground and washed and then either flaked or pelletized and be sold mostly to Coca-Cola to be made into new bottles. So we were waiting for a long time for domestic markets to emerge, and then we said, maybe we're the domestic market that has to emerge. So we started making those investments. So rather than, you know, kind of throwing caution to the wind and hoping things were being recycled, we are now making big investments and adding new equipment to the recycling center and capturing more than ever before and diverting some locally, which is Vegas market is considered local compared to where it used to go, which was China. So that's new this year. So that just started in January. We started shipping your plastics over there. So, annual donations about the same, just under 20,000. Usually it bounces up and down. We offer free recycling at all the schools and all the school buildings. It used to be back in the day, we'd collect, like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but phone books, stacks of phone books and stuff. And we used to do these recycling efforts. And then once single stream recycling came into play, we just started offering free recycling at all the schools. We also work with the Catholic Church, who does the food bank, so we support them in some of their outreach efforts, and the rodeo, and then the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. We staff that, like, we help with people out there. And then at the beginning of each year, for everyone who's due, we, as part of our contract, give $5,000 to the city, and it's split between DARE, the high school, Earth Day, Hazardous Waste Collection Day, and Parks and Rec youth programs. So I would say most of it seems to go to Little Man Wrestling, because that's always where the thank you note comes from, it seems like, for the wrestlers. But and other than that, we're just still active chambers of MAC and the Mountain Home Chamber, because we think that a lot happens there. And then for tonight, do you guys have any questions first, or for Chad on operations?
Yeah. Councilman Brennan?
I might have a bunch of questions for you tonight, but I'd like to start off. Could you set the record straight with me as to what happens with recycling when there's a non-recyclable item in the tote and it ends up at Western Recycling?
Yes.
Rumor on the street is it's all garbage at that point. So
no, it's not all garbage, but yeah, that's a terrible one. That's a lot of work to take it there and throw it all away. No, so everything is consolidated on trucks here from Chad's group, and it goes to Western Recycling in Boise, and it's dumped on the floor, and then it's pushed into a pit that takes it up a sort line, and we see lots of stuff in there. We see hoses, we see little Tykes plastic play equipment, we see glass bottles, we see a lot of stuff that's not recyclable. Some stuff will reject a whole load. We occasionally have needles, like if someone discards needles in a load and there are a lot of them, then we will reject it just for safety of workers, or hazardous waste. So if it's something really hazardous, like one time we had a vial of mercury that didn't break, but it was a big, like, it must have been a hobby miner or something, but it was like a big thing of mercury. We just shut things down and had to, like, clear the line. But we get trash all the time. As a matter of fact, I want to say we get over 10 tons a day through that facility because it's consolidated throughout the state. We pull off and everything. There's a hand sort line, so it goes up the belt to the first line, and that's a hand sort. And there are at least 12 people hand sorting, pulling trash off, and they throw it into bunkers below. And then now there's like what's called an air knife that blows paper up, and there's, you know, we're adding an optical sorter for plastics, but no, it's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. So if you haven't seen it, I would invite you guys to come and see it, because it is worth a tour. But we don't throw a whole load away. I actually don't ever know, do you know of ever where a whole load has been thrown away?
Not,
I can't think of any time that would be the case. But
when you say a load, are you referring to
a whole truck
one
load.
blue truck?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the drivers do have the responsibility to educate at the curb. So if they flip open, you know, the lid to dump it in the truck and they see a bunch of styrofoam, they'll leave a note that says, "Oops, we see that there's styrofoam in the carts, and this is not accepted in the program." So they'll leave what's called a hard card or an "oops" card, and they'll to let the customer know. But we don't ever throw away anything generally but trash.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
You go ahead with your presentation.
Okay,
and I'll
okay.
ask one.
So, yeah, and so tonight, we're back in front of you. A couple things. First, residential waste always has historically, and it still does, has a $0 per ton tipping fee, and that was part of the host agreement with IRWS, and the commissioners are honoring that still, so there's no residential disposal. So that's really nice for people, the residents of Elmore County. The commercial waste, however, was $40 a ton. It was $20 to go through Bennett Road and then $20 at IRWS. Now that that landfill is closed, all of that waste is being consolidated at Bennett Road Transfer Station and taken to Southern Idaho Solid Waste in Burley. So the disposal that we get charged for Mountain Homes, as of November 1st, I want to say, we've been getting charged $76 a ton for commercial waste instead of $40. And so one of the provisions that we have in the contract is to come forward when we have uncontrollable costs, which include disposal, to say we need the businesses to cover their disposal costs. So that's part of the rate request tonight, is to say that just the commercial rates are changed to include disposal at $76 a ton instead of $40 a ton. So, and that's, Tiffany has the copy of those. And just so you all know, we take this really seriously. We've long wanted a landfill in this market because we saw our vulnerability, like not just ours, but the cities and the county. We are working with Elmore County to try to find a partnership at Bennett Road to have them open that landfill and have us operate that landfill for them, or to find some sort of partnership. We are partners with U.S. Ecology, so whether that's opening a landfill in Grandview or whether it's, you know, partnering with the county to run Bennett Road, we're looking for something close in to, as quickly as possible, bring disposal costs back down, really far down. So that's part of it. So that's the first part, is, I guess, the commercial disposal that is in there. The second is we did. I'll do the second part, is a annual price increase based on the garbage trash index. So there are lots of consumer price indices, whether it's like for dairy or all items, or in our case, we use the garbage trash because it most closely reflects our costs. So this past year, it was 6.5%, which is high. It's higher probably than we've seen before, but this last year was higher in all of our costs. So trucks and tires, and we saw 40% increases in a lot of the petroleum-based stuff, like our fluids and our tires. Most importantly, we do still take pride in paying livable wages. We have very, very low turnover here in Mountain Home. We have good jobs, and Chad's whole team, they all, like, from our technicians that work on the trucks down, everybody for the most part lives here and works here, and they stay with us. They don't leave, and they like working for the city. They like I mean, most people know a lot of them by name. So we don't generally get complaints. This last week we had a lot, like waist high or knee high, at least, snow in the alleys. And Chad said it's the first time in 20 years he couldn't get through some of the alleys, and he was panicking. So if people called and said, "I'm moving, I need you to come get my stuff," they would still go drag it out of the alleys and stuff. But a lot of them got cleaned up, and then he said the rest get cleaned up tomorrow, I think.
Finish it tomorrow.
And that's the first time that we've ever had that happen, that I know, that the snow was high enough that we couldn't pass. So for the most part, we don't get service complaints. If we do at City Hall, someone gets a hold of either Chad or me right away, and we try to make sure they get put to bed really quickly, so that people have confidence and feel like the magnets are here now. Hopefully everyone has a magnet to tell them their recycling weeks and brochures and things like that. So we try to make sure everyone is educated. So this year, the consumer price index was 6.5%, and that's a year-over-year change each October. So that publishes November 15th, and then we try to reach out after that publishes in November to the city to get before you guys for consideration. Or if you have questions specifically about anything like granularly what drives that, we're happy to answer that. The last thing is, we have been asked for like a year, we're finally brought rates for people who want a smaller cart option. We've been asked to bring forward a lower rate for smaller carts. And we did that, so if someone wants a smaller, the current carts are 95, 96 gallons. It's equivalent to 3 32-gallon trash cans. That's what most people have, that's the standard. There's a 65-gallon, which is essentially 2 trash cans, and then a 48-gallon, which is 1.5 trash cans. We have some in town just for specific reasons, like if someone, for accessibility reasons, wants a littler one or whatever, they have those, but they're not associated with a lower rate. So this is a good time too, as hopefully inflation comes back down, but as the price increase came out, we brought forward a rate of $1.50 less per month if someone wants to choose a smaller cart instead of a larger cart. The trick with it, Mount Home, which made it hard, is usually in markets where disposal is like, let's say $40 a ton, which is what it would have been, like if you had to pay for disposal of residential rates, it would have been about $40 a ton at IRWS. Well, then when we offer smaller carts, we save on the disposal, right? So we can say, oh, they're getting a smaller cart, so Republic Services is paying less in disposal, so we can cover the investment. Like if a cart is $100, we can say, oh, we can recover the cost of that investment because we're paying a little bit less in disposal each month. So it's an offering out. But here, the disposal is zero. So it's made it hard because we don't, regardless of your cart size, the city doesn't pay disposal. We don't pay disposal on residential rates. So that's why we just said if anyone wants a smaller cart, we could offer it for $1.50 less per month. So if that.
Well, and we also, sorry to cut you off, Rochelle,
No,
we also wanted it to where if there's a person that only needed it picked up once a year, or not once a year, sorry, once a month, you know what I mean? With the smaller, we had a couple of seniors that, remember we asked you if we could do that?
And we
So
don't
where are we at with that?
So, Mayor, we don't have any way to route like the once a month stops, and it's really hard for customers to remember once a month because it's not like the first, it becomes an every 4 week cycle. So we have every 4 week cycle, but we don't have once a month. Like the first Monday of every month is your collection day. It doesn't work like that because every 4th week, it's sometimes like in January you'll have 4 Mondays and then they're off. So we don't have it like that. But what we have is just smaller cart options. And then if they don't fill it, usually if it's like a 48-gallon cart, which is 1.5 trash cans, usually we wind up seeing people fill that. But we don't have a way to route, other than once every 4 weeks, something like that. I don't know of anywhere that happens.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
if my memory serves me right, I believe the previous council was in agreement not to proceed with the once a month pickup, just the smaller cart size on a weekly basis still.
Okay. That was I thought they didn't want to do the water, but the trash was good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, Mayor, Council, my understanding was the council didn't want a citizen to go to once a month trash
Oh, for the
pickup and
smell,
then it
that's
would
right.
build up.
That's right. Yep. Nope, you're right. I remember that now.
It's hard to think of that in January,
Right.
But in July.
but in July, your neighbors wouldn't love it very much. So
For sure. That's
yeah.
right. I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
quick question, Rochelle. On the Mountain Home City rates page that you'd supplied to us, the segment that defines some of the pricing for the regular curbside of 65-gallon versus the 95-gallon, there's in those columns, there's not a rental rate for the bin supplied there. Do we have an understanding of what that might be?
It's the same. It doesn't really vary much for us to buy them because even though they're slightly less, we don't buy them in full loads. So we benefit when we buy, I don't know, do you remember how many are on a load? Like 360 carts are on a load or something. But when we buy the smaller ones, we don't get a full load. So even though they're a little bit less, our shipping is a little bit more. So the rent really would be the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then a follow-up question to that when it comes to your side of billing and our in-house administration of those solid waste services, how best, and maybe this is a question for the logistics side, whether that's TIF or or someone else, how do we make the distinction on the billing side of a house that has 95, their neighbor has 65, their neighbor has 65, and that kind of smattering of taking for the smaller carts? Like, it seems like that's going to create some administrative issues somewhere, or incur additional cost in time.
So thank you, Councilman Harjo. I think what will happen is, as people order them, they'll order them through us, and then we have to notify the billing side. So we have people with like 2 or 3 trash carts or an additional recycling cart, and it's our job to communicate that with the city. And so the billing services team tracks that. So we would say this customer, you know, swapped their 95, they now have a 65. So they would track it on the billing side to make sure that it's like they can track those accordingly for the rates.
And for our staff, is that something that's easily achievable? Is that going to create more administrative time?
Councilman, no. Currently, right now, we offer like carry-out service too, which is per home, specific to certain residents. And then, so it would be the same. We would just have a separate billing. It would assess to it, and we would just adjust.
Sure. Thank
It
you.
shouldn't be that difficult.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilman Brennan?
I'd like to follow up on Councilman Harjo's question. I highlighted the same thing he's talking about here, is there's no rates here, but you said it's the same
The rent, just the rental. Yeah,
as above for the 95 gallon. So we just didn't have it in there yet. It'll still be there, $3.94 plus $10.86. I was, for a second there, I thought you were saying, well, it's less trash with just a little more price, so no rent on it, but that's not the case.
No, thank you, Councilor. No, the cart rent is just the same. It's just the rate for service would be different. It would be lower, the rate for
Okay.
service.
And the same exact rent as the 95 gallon
Yeah,
tote?
yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Is this your document that you produced?
Yes.
Can I ask a huge favor?
Yeah,
And for future years, could you, I don't know if it's too much to ask, but could you put like current versus new requested rates so we can
Yes.
compare
yes,
side to side?
I can do that.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
that'd be fantastic. I wanted to ask too, and you covered it already about our alley, not a disaster, but our snow
Yeah.
thing in the alley. It sounds like the general fix for that is just coming the next week on Wednesday to do that.
And cleaning up everything that's out there. Yeah.
Okay. My request that I wrote down is, do you commit to just basically picking up anything that's a normal trash item, whether it's in a garbage can or in a garbage sack, or getting it all out of the alley?
Yes, so normally we do not pick up plastic bags, but we'll pick up plastic bags on outside of the carts tomorrow. Yeah, as long as it's contained. Yes.
Because a lot of people don't have more than a cart, so if they generated more trash and we couldn't get to them, we just have to clean up whatever trash is out there.
Okay. And why do you not pick up plastic bags?
It's in the contract. It was put in there.
It's a safety
Yeah.
reason. So it's any rigid container. So the city of Mountain Home has it's structured now that you can fill your cart first and put additional waste in a rigid container, and that's really a driver safety issue. So we've had, just in the summer heat, you have a plastic bag and a broken picture frame or wine glass, or I should say a jelly jar or something breaks through and cuts you. It's just, or rose bushes or things that we can't see the contents of the bag. It's just more dangerous for our drivers. So any rigid container they can throw.
I don't remember what page it's on, but I feel like I'm going to argue with you on that one. I saw in here that you would pick up plastic bags and paper bags, but not for yard waste. Yard waste has to be in paper or a can, but a plastic bag set beside the can is okay. I'll find it in here if I have to, but I gotta find the right page.
Then we'll have to come back and ask for you guys to change it and support us on that. So we haven't for a long time picked up plastic bags, except even after Christmas, we don't. I want to say everything's in a container, a rigid container.
It might take me a couple minutes,
Okay.
but I do want to find it for sure. It's a long contract.
It's also for aesthetic reasons.
Oh, yeah, and that was the other thing, too, for one of the primary reasons back when Mayor Rist was here was fugitive litter and animal tampering were big. Like, so when the wind blows, if someone has a bag of trash in an alley and a dog gets into it, and then the wind blows, it became a fugitive litter issue, and that was just containing the waste was a big deal. So that's been a long time back. Do you remember those days? It's been a long time, but it was really, Chad's right, it was more of a litter and animal tampering is where it kind of stemmed from originally.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
Just for transparency, I think we have a little bit of understanding why the price is going up, but for the community, can you explain the backstory of why now you're going to Burley?
Oh, yes, thank you. And I want to say, is it Workla? Workla, okay, I want to say, thank you. Yeah, Councilman Workla and everyone here. So we enjoyed the benefit of a local landfill for a long time. And several years ago, the Department of Environmental Quality, it was brought to their attention that there were some environmental violations, and so over the course of the past several years, the regulators, Central District Health and DEQ have been working with the landfill to correct those environmental issues, and it turns out that they didn't find a path forward, and so closure of the landfill was then pursued, and so that happened in November, I believe, that the landfill was closed, and then at that point there was no local landfill, so that waste, all the waste generated in Elmore County then is consolidated and taken over all the way over to Burley, because we don't have a landfill here in Elmore County at this point.
But you're working on a contingency plan locally to try to get one, so you don't have to keep traveling
Yes,
to
we
Burley.
are. Thank you.
Is this
Yes.
contract annually?
No, it's every 5 years. Yeah, it's every 5 years. So, and the disposal piece of it is a mitigation agreement agreed to between Elmore County and the landfill. So that, we're not part of that agreement. So that, we didn't own that landfill, we just, yeah, so that was an agreement between the county and the owners of the IRWS landfill. So all the residents here got the benefit of it, which is also, there's risk involved too, because there are a lot of tires out there. There are over 600,000 tires is the estimate right now. So that's part of the reason it was shut down, is just the risk involved with processing those tires and moving them away so they're not a risk any longer, like a fire risk or weed and pests like mosquitoes and all kinds of reasons, so.
Thank you.
Councilman Brennan?
All right, ready?
No, I saw you going crazy, I'm like, oh no, here it comes.
All right, section 3.1, preparation of waste and recyclable materials under residential service number 2. It says, let's see here. Customer-owned trash cans with lids not to exceed 35 gallons in capacity, customer-supplied large craft paper bags or plastic bags strong enough to prevent the spillage of contents under normal handling. And
Oh no, it gets worse.
under section 7 is where I tried to specify difference. It says grass clipping, leaves, garden debris shall be set out in carts, large craft paper bags, or other similar containers weighing less than 60 pounds. Sod, dirt, and rocks are prohibited.
Yeah, and so I think that mostly you're thinking of cardboard, like rigid cardboard or paper, but, so, we'll have to.
Start picking them up, I guess.
No, don't put the word out. We'll have to try to work around that. That's really bad. That's bad for the drivers who handle it. I mean, if it is in there, we have to, for some reason, I thought we got rid of that a long time ago.
It's always bothered me.
Has it? Are you, someone be tagged like, whoops, can't take your bag?
I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
finish that.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you for finding it and setting it straight.
You're welcome. We got you till 2026.
I know, all the bags.
On the next note, I might have missed it, because you
Okay.
saw I was trying to read it at the same time. But in the same topic, Councilwoman Workla was talking about was, what was it that the commissioners said they would continue to honor with the new, you mentioned like a lifting station, and then you said they would continue to honor something.
Right, thank you, Councilman Brennan. So the zero disposal rate for residential waste. So that's right now, they're still not charging for residential waste, even though it's going over to Burley. So that technically is 76 a ton too. I mean, between the transfer station fees that the county incurs just for operating, like, you know, to have staff there and the scale and the loader and all that, but just between their labor and then the transportation and then disposal at the other landfill, that's $76 a ton. So it's quite expensive, and so they're still honoring the $0 per ton for residential customers.
Okay.
for residential waste, but not, commercial waste has always had a portion of that included in their rate, and it just is, that's the part that's higher now, to cover those costs.
Got it. And then, I got a lot of papers on this business here, so
Okay.
pardon me. But I wanted to address, I know it's probably small stuff,
There's nothing too small.
but as far as your $5,000 cash contributions,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag, and I hope not. If so, I'm sorry, guys, but we don't really have a DARE program anymore. Is that right, Chief? So can we reallocate that money to
You know what?
another program?
Yes, Councilman Mayor and Councilman Brennan, it's always been at the city's pleasure how that's allocated. So even with the 1,000 that goes to Mountain Home High School, it was to go originally to scholarships, and then they decided to use half of it, or some years the whole amount, for the senior celebration. And so it's really how you guys, that was the initial split, but that doesn't mean it's still there. And I don't really know if Earth Day activities get 1,000 anymore either. I think that, you know, those funds are split out however the city sees fit. And so if there's not a DARE program, they're probably going somewhere else,
Okay.
you know, that you guys need it, so.
Are you just, sorry, I might be asking questions you don't want to answer maybe. Are you just writing one $5,000 check and the city moves it, or are you individually
So
writing checks?
4,000 to the city, and then, actually, I just asked Tiffany today, 4,000 to the city, I wanted to put it all in one, but 4,000 to the city and then 1,000 to the high school.
Okay. Perfect. And then also, just for the public that's listening in, the 6.5% consumer price index, that is by contract that we have to follow that. So that's not an option for the city council. Is that a fair statement?
We want you to think there's value in it.
Absolutely. I just,
Yeah.
obviously there's value
Yeah.
in waste removal, but when they say don't raise it 6.5, the fact of the matter is for us, we don't have a choice in the matter based on it. As long as, I wanted to ask, are you using the same CPI line each year? Because you
Yes.
said this one most closely, so
Yeah, yes.
you're not bouncing around.
Thank you, that's a good question. No, and this contract, garbage trash is the closest one we have to our industry, because it's pretty much, some cities use water sewer trash, which tends sometimes to run higher, especially lately with wastewater changes. So there's a water sewer trash index, and then there's an all items, and there are lots of them, but we tend to prefer garbage trash because it most closely reflects our expenses, yeah. But some cities in this area do use water sewer trash.
All right.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to work with the commissioners on the Bennett transfer site to become an actual landfill, are you desiring that to take strictly Elmore County trash or trash from around the state?
Thank you, that's a good question. I would say not from around the state, but similar to what, this is such a small county, which is why it's hard for the county to run its own landfill. There aren't enough tons really to justify, like, it's about $12 million to open a landfill, to buy the equipment, you know, to buy just some of the, it's almost $1 million for, you know, some of the bigger pieces of equipment. So it's about 12 million to go through permitting and construction, and it would be too expensive for small counties to have their own, which is why there was a private landfill that brought in waste from out of county. So it would be, we're proposing a similar model, so pretty much not from around like the state in lots of different places, but similar to what they had before, which is out of county, like mostly Ada County waste coming over. But yes, it would be some out of county, very similar to what IRWS had before.
Still kind of defined as like a regional landfill, not a county landfill?
Right, nope, not a county landfill. And we see that around the state. There are no landfills really, there are some small exempt landfills, which means they can accept under 20 tons a day from Riggins north, but most of that waste goes out of state because those counties, Kootenai County is the next one that has a landfill, but most of that waste goes to Missoula or over to Washington and out of state because it's so expensive for counties to run their own landfills. You need a certain number of tons to cover your fixed costs. You know, if it's $12 million and you have to, you say, okay, this is going to last, like, how are we going to depreciate this for over 10 years, and you still have your operating expenses on top of your stand-up starting expenses, it just gets to be really expensive with a small number of tons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tiffany, anything else need to be addressed?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
You guys are good.
Okay.
All right, council.
We do.
You have any other questions for Rochelle?
Okay.
Hearing none, is there a motion? Councilman Brennan?
I'll make a motion to accept the consumer price index increase for public services per the current contract for waste and recycling collection services for residential and commercial.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Rookla?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garby?
Aye.
All right. We'll run down to action item number 5. Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. If you have any other questions, please just let me know.
Might reach out to you for a tour. I'd love to see
Oh,
that.
please do at Western Recycling. It would be worth your time to see how everything's recycled, so you feel better. Yeah.
All right, action item number 5, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation to vacate a portion of Garrett Addition subdivision comprised of 37 and 38 total of 2.2 acres with conditions requested by Elks Yanchuk Living Development LLC. Council, what do you guys want to do? Sorry, what do you members want to do?
Okay.
Councilman Brennan?
Is the applicant present? I'd like to ask some questions.
Come on down.
Hello, Council.
How's it
Oh,
going?
yeah. Are you Alex?
Yes, ma'am.
Before we move into the vacation, I want to ask you about the current affairs of your building. The road is destroyed.
Yes.
And I'm curious why you had to cut so many times to get service to the few buildings you have already.
Per state code, we have to run sewer and water 10 feet apart. And because of the current locations of the sewer and water, we ended up running sewer closer toward the middle where it's currently existing on other sections of the road. And so we did it in sections so that all the residents would remain to have access to their homes while we're under construction, and that's why we phased it the way we did. And as soon as the weather is going to warm up, we intend to repave that road and asphalt it so that it will be more of a harder surface. Right now, with all the erosion that we have and all the water, every time we put gravel down, with all the traffic that's happening there, it doesn't take long, couple of weeks, and then we end up with potholes and we're back to resurfacing it with gravel.
Right, okay. Chris, can you help me understand, like, does each door of the fourplex have its own sewer pipe, or is it just one per building?
Every single door has its own meter.
Yep, every door has their own meter.
So in the road cuts that you did, you had to do a cut every, at least 10 feet for each door that's out there in the fourplex?
We were able to do 2 per.
2 per?
Yeah, like a double meter setter.
Okay. What does that mean? I'm sorry, as far, when you say each one has to have its own, and then you're telling me you did...
So we were able to run 2 lines parallel next to each other with a, it's like a circle that goes in the ground, and there's 2 meters per each one of those lines that are tapped into the water main.
Okay. All right. As far as the document goes, Chris, can you help me with the language? The bulk coverage, all the restrictions that they have initially, what's the language for the repaving of the street?
So according to city code, the developer is required to repave half of the street and provide curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
Right.
Right. And so that's the standard they have to meet. My understanding is they're gonna do more of that because of the damage that was done to the road. Their intentions are to place the entire road.
Okay, but they're not required to.
They're not required.
Where can we get that on paper?
It's in city code.
No, the whole road.
Oh, the whole road?
The entire width of the road.
We need to repave the areas that we cut, and because we cut half the road that we cut for the sewer, the second half that was cut was for water, and we already eliminated pretty much 75% of the asphalt there, and per city code, if we are cutting the road, we have to repave it, and that in itself means we have to do it.
Please forgive me for my ignorance here, I suppose, but I'm trying to paint a picture in my mind of whether you're talking about repaving the strip that you cut out or repaving the road for as many cuts as happened there.
Bradford, we are going to repave the entire road, and then on Foster, we're on our half of the road is where we were able to run the water line because there's an existing sewer there that we were able to utilize, and in that part on Foster, we are intending to repave half the road.
Okay.
Mayor, can I see a map of this? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, and the,
Councilwoman Workla,
oh, I'm so sorry.
you're welcome.
Sorry. Can I see a map? We got this, right, and then I have, what's presented to me is just micro. Is there something we can put up on a screen?
Councilman Brennan is addressing the development that's already occurring in the first portion.
Okay.
So the same development group, their projects, what he's addressing has already been constructed,
Got it.
basically at this time. So it's not that item, so to speak.
Okay, it's like I'm trying to.
But we'll get you a map of it.
Okay.
I think I can forward.
So they have all, right, Brennan, this is the one.
Yeah, right where it says Bradford,
Right
actually,
here.
right
They
there.
have, there's a bunch of cuts in here for all the lines. And so they have all the units that are currently there.
Okay.
And then a couple that are on this side that they had to get sewer from the Foster.
Okay.
Put myself to use.
And we also extended water, 8-inch line all the way down Bradford, all the way to the corner, and turned it down Foster, almost to the new, to the older apartments that are there located. And
Top 10 for future use.
yeah, so future uses, so like the buildings on the corner, the buildings across the street, we installed an oversized line that the future residents or developments that are going to be happening there will be able to use as well.
Councilman Brennan?
So the reason I'm bringing this up at this time, right, is because what's before us is a request for vacation of the other property. Without the vacation, I guess it's an assumption on my part that you won't be able to continue with the rest of your development request that comes next on the agenda. Is that
I don't know if this is, I'm sorry.
safe to say?
So,
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So this is the road that they're talking about. They have, I wish I had a more current picture, but they have homes that they're building on this side of it here. On the road, there are several cuts across. This is the road that they'll redo entirely, correct?
Yes.
I don't think I have anything better that I can pull up. But, let's see.
You're going to redo, sorry, Mayor.
City Clerk, Belt?
Good to the team. You guys are going to redo the road from Foster all the way to
Dogwood, where we started the cut of the water.
Dogwood.
It's before Dogwood. There's a house, I believe it's 340 Bradford.
Okay.
That's where we started the excavation.
Okay.
It's a little bit before Bradford.
Isn't that
Dogwood.
Stilts?
Yeah, it's sitting right here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything better than that picture that I can provide, so.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
Chris, is it easier to go to GIS link and show from there, the sat view?
Do you know what that link would be?
Um,
That's what you're hoping.
City Mountain home page. Yeah, here we are.
You want this?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
can I step out and speak with council for a minute?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I don't know if this is gonna get any better.
Mayor, can I request we go to recess while?
Yeah, I'll take a quick 5-minute recess, or as long as it takes for those two to get back in here. How about that? We'll call the meeting back to order here. All right, Councilman Brennan.
Brenda, Chris, on page 4 of the vacation agreement, or the request to vacate, is this short little paragraph written by Ian Wolf? What effect does this have? Is this part of the legal binding nature to the city council here? Or is it something he's doing with his developers?
I don't have that document.
Can I pass it over? You pass that to him.
Sorry.
Well, it does appear to be a continuation of what its legal description is. Looks like it's a continuation of that.
It seems to be binding the city though, with like water and.
Did I go past it?
With regards to the and permanent structures, is that kind of what you're referring to, or the whole paragraph in general?
No, the whole paragraph in general, it just looks out of place for what it is. It's saying, again, now I don't have it in front of me, but it looks like it's saying the city is going to entirely give water and all that.
This is the legal description for Garrett's addition, which we're trying to vacate. So everything that's addressed in this would be vacated as part of the vacation.
So that paragraph written by Ian Wolf will be gone
It would
if
be
we approve.
vacated as part of the vacation of the Garrett's addition.
You agree? Legal?
Yes, but even if it wasn't the case,
Yeah.
an affirmation by a landowner doesn't bind the city,
Yeah.
ever.
Okay.
But, so that, with the vacation, this entire legal description will go away, it'll change.
I don't know if anybody else has anything before I continue on or whatever.
All you
Okay. So I'm not exactly sure the appropriate place to put it. I'd like to put one more condition on you in writing rather than just a verbal condition. Whether it's on the, what are we talking, the preliminary plat or the vacation, is that the condition of both of those will be that you have to repave the road in its entire width, from Dogwood to, is it Foster?
So it would be from like 340 Bradford, this is where we started.
We started on the house so on the corner of Dogwood, there's a house, and on the other side of the house,
sorry.
closer to Foster, is where we started.
Can you stand up there and point?
Yeah.
345 Bradford.
Right here, there was a water connection point.
Okay.
Where we
Right
started
behind.
digging, and we dug all the way to here and wrapped around on this side of the road and finished over here. And because we dug on this side of the road, we intend to repave this entire road section to here and half through here.
Okay, that's exactly what I'd like to see, and I just want to put that in writing rather than just a verbal commitment. So, I would make a motion to approve the vacation as written, adding a condition that the entire width of Bradford from the first cut, traveling, I believe that's north, to Foster must be repaved in the entire width of the road. Of course, adding curb, gutter, and sidewalk as already required.
On one side of the road.
Yeah.
And then, correct, on one side of the road, and then the half of Foster to your furthest cut.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
legal. So, since it's not written in our city ordinance in that manner,
I think it is.
is it written
Yeah.
that they have to
Chris
pave
and I
the whole
can go
road?
rounds on it, but I would be astounded if it wasn't in our code, that if for a developer's convenience, the road, you dig up part of the road that isn't on your half, that you wouldn't be required to make the city code whole.
I don't disagree with repaving the whole road. I'm just making sure that we have it in writing, because these guys we don't have it in writing, then,
No, that's exactly what
Yeah.
the condition of it. So whether it be the vacation or the plat, that's what we talked about. Vacation or the plat, you just make it a condition of approval. They're already saying they're gonna do it. I think it's actually already in the code.
Can we
And
get
so
a copy
just-
of that eventually?
But just to err on the side of caution,
Yeah. Okay.
Councilman Brennan's making it a condition of approval in his motion to approve.
On the vacation.
I said do it on both.
Okay.
And so in case there was any, if there was ever any argument as to when it would come down and apply, that it applies no matter what. Which is why he phrased it that way.
And before there's any seconds, Brenda, can you help me put in my motion when the appropriate timing would be for the, maybe it's our, whenever the other part is already stated, I guess. When's the appropriate time?
Is there any more cuts that you're gonna be making with regards to that?
No, once we're done with this, we are going to be
So for
all
curb and
inside the
gutter.
property.
So the new plat
Curb and gutter,
will not
yeah.
have any additional cuts, it'll all be from existing that
We'll
you've
be
already-
making a 2-foot cut from where the curb and gutter starts. That's per ISPWC.
So you're gonna do all that before you pave? Okay.
So the paving comes last, so we don't have any more cuts in it.
Correct.
By a certain point, by certificate of occupancy?
Absolutely before certificate.
Okay.
So I would say maybe we can get a portion of it for a certificate of occupancy for the first phase that's already been permitted and
Yeah.
pretty much out the window. And what we're vacating is a separate lot. So where this is, it's going to be a separate extended sidewalk. So there's going to be a 2-foot cut before the curb and gutter in front of that.
In the asphalt?
Mhm.
For what?
That's per Idaho State Public Works Construction Code.
I'm lost now.
So he's saying the first ones he wants to have people move into because it was a different, we're not even talking about, it's already
Yeah.
done, over with. He's saying when he wants to make sure that when he does the second phase, or I guess it would be the second phase,
Yeah.
is that when you're gonna make him, before you give him the certificate of occupancy, he's gotta pave all that, repave it.
Yeah.
Because he's gotta cut into it anyways.
When we're doing the sidewalks, we have to cut into the road, and in order to add the sidewalks for the phase 2. And then, I mean, we wouldn't be able to get, we're trying to say to do certificate of occupancy for phase 2.
Yeah, so pretty much according to State Public Works Construction, when we're pouring curb and gutter, 2 feet of asphalt in front of it needs to be repaved. So we have to put curb and gutter, and then 2 feet of asphalt in front of it has to be repaved, and it's just it's kind of like a safety for if the dirt right undermined it a little bit, so that way it's compacted.
I just really don't want to place that with the next build, because what if the next build never comes?
No, the next build is what we're here for. The first build is done.
I understand that, but what if something in your financing goes awry and you can't build the second phase, and now we don't have it in writing that it's applicable immediately? The only way that the city is safeguarded is to ensure that that comes with the first set of certificate of occupancy.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
I have another question for you, Paul. So, because they already have their first phase done, how are we able to go back and, okay, thank you. So that's why I want to make sure we're not going back, because they already have their first phase done. So
Kind
we
of done.
can't we can't put regulations on them. We can put regulations on what's going forward to vacate. But we can't go back and say, hey, we don't like what you've done.
I see.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we're talking about what's on the agenda, the topic, not their past.
Right, but, Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Paul, I kind of explained is, in this particular instance, I see a vacation the same as annexation. Right? And so, by putting a couple contingencies on vacation, if they don't meet it, then they can't move forward, right?
Which is what you're doing
Right,
in your
but,
motion now.
but the timing is important to me, right? So, what guarantees that the full width of the road gets paved even before phase 2 gets built? I see it as like, with annexation, I can put any contingency on it I want.
Yeah. That's a little loaded, but yeah, generally.
So is there a way to get there?
You are doing it. I mean, I understand what you're worried about, and there is some inherent risk. I mean, that it is almost a uniform application that before either final plat or C of O stage, that any public improvements have to be completed in order to be eligible for that C of O. Now, before that happens, dirt gets, I mean, in any subdivision application you ever have, the subdivision application at preliminary plat level is approved, and then they have authority to move, quote-unquote, move dirt. And so, you know, it's what I'm going back in my mind to is in 2007, we had all these subdivision approvals that were approved, and they went in and started moving dirt, and then pow, the economy plummeted. And so we had so many different subdivisions in the different cities that are represented all go belly up, and there were no public improvements that were done. The parks, you know, the common areas weren't done. And so there's that inherent risk. But to require, it is just not, we used to require financial guarantees. That's just not done anymore. But basically, the approval is saying you don't get a C of O unless you repair the road that you dug up. And really, that's kind of the best that we have nowadays. And so I understand what you're worried about. And yes, I suppose there is some inherent risk in that regard. And when you're digging up a road, if the developer goes belly up, kind of thing. But that's always been the case.
Sure. But as it stands now, and Chris, maybe this, if you can help, phase one, right? The buildings are mostly built, the exteriors at least. Under that agreement, they're still required to repave half of the road as you read it.
Correct.
Before the certificate of occupancy.
Half of the road and anything that
they dug up.
Dug up, yes, before C of O.
So we're gonna get there, right? Like, so you're not gonna make the residents that drive that road wait until you complete the phase two.
It is contingent on whether we're anticipating hopefully finishing the buildings in their entirety by the end of February. We are not certain with this weather if the weather will be appropriate for asphalt, and having the building stand there for 2-3 months fully completed without anybody being to live there or monitor them, we are concerned that potentially having damages done. We did have $2,000 worth of tools stolen and $7,000 of the water heaters already stolen from that location. I'm just concerned that if we finish them fully, say, end of February, and we're not able to get anybody in there because the weather, that maybe we're going to suffer some more damages as a result.
That's a very valid point, right? And I know you can't asphalt until the weather gets to a certain point. So,
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Is it possible, Paul, that as a part of that, as a part of the requirement that we're going to place, that from cut to cut this gets done, that we could put an additional within 60 days of certificate of occupancy?
No, you want it with they don't get the C of O.
Right, I'm asking, like, from the legal perspective, if that's something that is ever done, or if we are at a hard stop of this is always complete before.
It is, if what you're asking me, this is where we ran into, I think what you're asking me is where we went terribly afoul in 2007, where financial assurances, financial guarantees were allowed to lapse, and they wanted to be able to, they wanted to be able to sell and market lots before the common areas and before the roads and before the infrastructure was put in, and then bam, belly up, and you had, this is the city of Star, bless their hearts, that I'm referring to, where they had an entire subdivision where people own the lots, the builders were building the actual structures, the houses, but they didn't have common areas, they didn't have lights, they didn't have, it wasn't paved, and that's because they allowed them to get the developer was, out because they had already sold all the lots, and so they were out. I would never allow you guys to do that anymore. That was one of the dumbest things that we ever did on allowing those financial assurances to lapse, and gave them the C of Os before those improvements were done. No, those improvements gotta be done before you can get those C of Os. That's
Excellent. I wanted to make sure that
But
there
not
was.
60 days before.
Right, I'm
If
trying to
you
make sure
said
there was
60
no.
days after, no and hell no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was was making sure that we're not setting ourselves up for a position where that improvement comes after in any condition.
No, they don't get the C of O without the improvements being done.
May I ask a
Thank you.
question? In Boise, when we had such conditions where we were finishing a building and Boise requires you to have landscaping finished before they grant certificate of occupancy, and sometimes we finished buildings, say in January, you can't put grass in the ground because it will die. Boise would allow us to bond around at, I think they said like 80% or so of the cost of construction in order to assure that if, say, the contractor fails, then you guys have that bond to fall back on to make sure that the work gets completed. Is that something you guys would consider for this phase one, in case we do finish before the weather allows us to asphalt?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Bond it or do you escrow it?
Bond.
You bond it?
Bond around it.
That's the financial guarantees I was just referencing. Which is great as long as they don't lapse like they happened.
Councilman Brennan?
Mayor, just to be clear, when we're talking about the certificate of occupancy, is that in the subdivision that they brought forward today, the Bradford Townhomes, or is that with regards to the 3 existing structures that they're currently building now?
The first stuff they've already done. I think we're just talking with this one for this not annexation, the vacation.
Because we're at preliminary plat now.
But the same argument is that they may not, based on the timing of their build, they may not even be able to do the half of the street, which is required right now outright before a C of O. So if we have a financial guarantee, like you mentioned, and our attorney backs, I'm fine with that. I'm not an expert on bonds and how they work. I just want to guarantee that that road will be done from side to side.
The difference was in 2007-8, no banks would give a guarantee.
Oh.
So that was just shut down. And so everybody went belly up.
Councilman Brennan, you made a motion to let them vacate with these stipulations. What were those again?
Well, I'll pull back my motion because I understand that there's a potential they could open the doors before paving. Chris, man, I'm lost
So don't
because.
stay with your motion.
So,
It was appropriate.
Okay, I'm staying. They still have to, by current regulation, they have to pave at least half the road.
we do have an option of a temporary C of O that can be revoked.
Then we kick people out though,
No.
no.
Right? It's either a bond or a temporary C of O. I think that's the only way that you can enforce that at this point.
And you haven't gotten a phone call from a very angry builder yet.
I understand.
They've already ripped up 75% of the road, so I think they're gonna fix it all anyways. So they're not gonna just do the half, which, so it's not cost effective to just patch it. So I know you guys are gonna have to do the whole dang thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
There's only like 4 feet left of the existing road.
Right.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
educate me here. So this is an example of a public hearing, correct? Where someone can come up and talk. That gentleman has his hand up for the last 20 minutes. Is he able to speak?
No.
This is not a.
He's unable to do that
No.
out here?
No.
Okay. Thanks for educating me.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Paul, what if we table this for them to return with a bond and proceed forward then?
Well, you don't have to do it that way. It would be a condition of approval, that they either, prior to C of O, that all improvements are, it's in our code, that all improvements are rendered and/or provide performance bond. You can make that part of your motion. I'm pretty sure it's in our code.
It is in our code.
So I'm just, I guess, a little bit confused because we came here to do the vacation, and now we're talking about phase 1.
No, we're not talking about phase 1. We're not talking about phase 1. We're just talking about the vacation.
Okay.
I am though, but I'm holding the keys right now, essentially, right? Because I said that to me, the vacation is the same as annexation. So before I'm willing to proceed with vacation, I need a guarantee in writing.
That on this property
Yes.
that we're vacating, we will not get a C of O until
The road's
that
done.
road is paved. That's correct.
Correct.
You're not gonna get a C of O without half the road being repaved as it stands now.
Yes, or a bond around it.
Is your plan to repave half now and then come back later and do the other half?
No, we
No, we're
intend to
just
do
gonna
all
pave
of
all of
it.
it.
We're just hoping that we can open the doors before the weather turns on this phase one. And if that does happen, we intend to bond around it, provide a bond to the city to get a certificate of occupancy, and that as soon as weather allows, to pave that road,
When do you intend to start construction on phase 2?
as soon as we can.
Can you give me a timeline?
Hopefully a month from now, if we can get the final plat finished.
Council, any other comments, questions?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Paul, I'm just getting spun up now. Like, what's the best solution for both parties, for the
You've already
city?
done
What's that?
You already did it with your motion.
I made my motion that they have to do it before the certificate of occupancy
Correct.
or the vacation is approved.
No, it's approved, but a condition of the approval for the vacation. It's more for the next part of the application here. But before, the condition of approval to have it both be vacated and to have the plat approved that they're working on, that they have to basically comply with our law, and you're just making sure that it's, as you said, in writing, as part of this condition of approval, that they have to repair that which they torn up, which is pursuant to our code, and pursuant to our code, 1/2 of the road, including curb, gutter, sidewalk, on their half. And that was your motion. And I
The
think
entire width was my motion.
So the entire width of the road, curb, gutter, sidewalk on only one side.
Correct, yeah. Okay.
That was what your motion was, and that's an appropriate motion.
Okay, I'll stick with that, and I know that before C of O on first phase is done, they still have to repave then anyways, at least half the road with sidewalk.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing now, I'll call for the question. Councilman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Okay. Sorry, so then that goes down to item number 6. Action item, deliberation decision on planning and zoning commission recommendation for preliminary plat of Bradford Townhomes consisting of 2.02 acres located at the corner of Northwest Foster, Northwest Bradford, and conditional request by Alex Living Development. Council?
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
I'd make a motion to approve the preliminary plat, adding a condition
The same condition.
of exactly the same as before.
I'm sorry, I was trying to read your lips.
Second. It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Run down to action item number 7, set a public hearing date for proposed fee increase for non-resident cards at the library.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Alex. What date do you guys want to set that public hearing date for?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I'd say just my opinion would be our next city council meeting with appropriate notice given.
Okay.
Do you have a date on that, Tiffany?
I could go, we could get it in the legal for the 31st and the 7th of Mountain Home News. So therefore it'd make its 2 publications, so the 13th of February.
Okay. Council, you amenable to that date?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to set a public hearing for February 13th for a proposed fee increase for non-resident cards at the library.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Run down to action number 8, set a date for council workshop, discuss hangar land leases. What date? Same date?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
We already have a meeting that day early.
Okay. You want to do the following one? You want to do a special one?
Mayor, is this simply for the fees for the
Yeah.
airport hangars? Okay. The next one will be fine with me.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
is there a reason we can't discuss it in a regular held meeting?
Sure.
So then that way we're not having to contend with schedules and everything else, or is there a reason why it needs to be a council workshop?
Mayor?
Go ahead, Tiff.
The last discussion was when we had a new governing body. It was to come back as a workshop so that we can have JUB representation here, as well as Tom from the airport to work through the grant requirements and FAA and different things out at the airport. In all honesty, I think it's a little complex to just slam into a night of meetings.
That's fine. I just asked a question.
No, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be immediately. I just didn't want to keep pushing it down the road. So it could go to March. I just didn't want another land lease to come up and then we'd be negotiating 5 cents a square foot again. So, yeah, it's the only reason it's here.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Tiffany, do we have anything else extraordinary on the 2nd February meeting?
There's, 2 more weeks, Councilman.
As of now, nothing.
Not as of now.
I'd vote for that day.
Next one.
Okay.
Council?
Do you have a specific date?
When
I'm
did you
sorry.
say?
The 22nd of February, I do believe. 27th, excuse me.
27. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I make a motion to set a city council workshop to discuss the airport hangar land lease on February 27th.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. I'll call for, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Okay. Run down to action item number 9. Deliberation decision to provide a letter of support for Mountain Home High School District 193 for community funding grant project.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Workla?
Yes. Is there a representative tonight to speak on this? Educators?
I think it was Superintendent Gilbert that sent a request, but he's not here, I'm sorry.
So I did see his email asking for the 20% for the community funding project grant coming from Congressman Simpson. So I did email him back and I asked him, where's the other 80% coming from? He said it's coming from the PSMI, the Public Schools of Military Installation Grant. But that's all I got. Do you guys have anything else on?
So that school's been on there for the last 5 years. It's a 80% cash match, so if the school district comes up with 20%, the DOD or PSMI, they will give the other 80% to build a new school.
And it's complete tear down,
It's a whole new school.
whole new school.
Brand new.
I guess educate me again, the conditions there are pretty dire.
I think, and I don't have all the schools need a little bit of TLC or a lot of TLC. So I think what it was it's like I said, all schools need a little bit of TLC, and I think they're trying to formulate a plan on they have a 10-year plan to hopefully go out and fix most of the schools here. But yeah, I'm not gonna say it's dire. They do the teachers out there. They do phenomenal work. Their test scores. I went to a Stevenson's kudos thing at the school board, and their scores were really great. So.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
I guess my question would be, why wouldn't we write a letter in support? I mean, it's a no-brainer. Anytime that we can get any sort of grant money to help out our schools, I'm all for it.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
I do have one question. When we have matters of our community's interaction with the base, we have a military base liaison in-house.
Mm-hmm.
Can we, going forward, request that he be present as well to give his assessment on these?
Sure. Yep.
Thank you.
Would you want me to reach out to their liaison as well?
anybody that is appropriate to invite, I would be welcome to have those appropriate bodies.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
As far as this goes, just, if you can help me make sure I'm being clear here, the money that they're asking for, somehow from Congressman Simpson's office, it's federal money coming in for that 20%. If they're awarded that, then the other federal institution that you guys mentioned brings the other 80.
Yep.
It's not direct city taxpayer money. I know we all pay tax to federal government and all that stuff, but it's not coming out of our general fund or even the Mountain Home School District's general fund.
So all of our legislators, we got a kind of a spun up here when we went back there for the, all legislators like Fulcher, Simpson, Risch, Crapall, and they get earmarks. Every senator and congressman gets earmarks. And Simpson is the only one that seems that'll take that money and bring it back into the state of Idaho. And so he's one of the ones that they asked for some support from.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support to the Mountain Home School District for the community funding project grant.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? My only discussion is, who do you want to write the letter, and then do you want to proof it before it goes out, and then you all sign up on that? Do you want?
I have a, Mayor,
Go ahead, Tiff.
I have a letter like 95% already drafted. I just was unable to complete it before tonight.
Sure.
So I will get it to all of you to read through and make your edits before we send it on, if that's okay with you.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
My thought is similar over here. Tiffany, can you send it to Marty first
Yes.
and get his take on it? With his approval, I wouldn't mind having signature blocks for myself, probably all the council
I
on there.
added them already.
Okay. That'd be great. Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
All right. All right, run down to action item number 10, deliberation decision to allow Elmore County Ambulance Service personal access to the City of Mountain Home Training Facility for routine use.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo.
Our own personnel policy, which is very fresh for myself and one other council person that was just sworn in. Our personnel policy defines that as a space that is specifically for our city employees and their spouses as a portion of the benefits package. I just want to make sure that that's out in the open before we start that discussion.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
I think all four of us have been asked to disregard this request. So I don't know, I don't know that we need to even have a lengthy conversation.
Okay.
Alan Roberts said, please disregard.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
I'll make a motion to deny the request.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
All right. Action item number 11, deliberation decision regarding public comment on city council agendas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Workla?
Yes, sir. Okay, so the reason why I asked for this to be on the agenda is because I would like for public comment to have the opportunity to comment on topics that do not have their own public hearing, per se. I'm curious what the other council members think of that as well.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
Paul, can we get a firm definition? During my time on planning and zoning, it was understood that if a member of our community came forward to speak on an agenda item that had its own dedicated public comment period, that they could do that. But if they came up during open public comment prior to that item being actively addressed on the agenda, that if they made a comment to that agenda item that had its own public comment period, that they could not make public comment on that item, correct?
Correct.
However, if they had general public comments prior to that had nothing to do with any specific agenda item or an agenda item that did not have its own public comment dedicated to it by statute, that they could make comments on those agenda items or any general topic. Is that correct?
Yeah. Typical legal answer from me, right? Yes and no. So, public comment on something that either is on that current agenda that has its own comment period would be inappropriate. It would also be inappropriate for something that will be heard, but maybe not on today's agenda, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously the reason behind it is for due process considerations for whoever that applicant might happen to be. So that's the only caveat that I would throw into that.
So a use case example.
What?
In a use case example, we were going to deliberate if we were going to use this bottle of water up here
Absolutely
today. That if that's an item on the agenda to discuss, could a member of the public come up prior to this agenda item during open comment and make a comment of, I don't like this brand, I like another brand, you should use that one? Can we allow that commentary because it is pertaining to that agenda item and it doesn't have its own public hearing?
That is up to you. So I could give you the firm legal answer on something that is, like, for example, something that went through something that was a public hearing at the Planning and Zoning Commission. The City Council, you guys have made the decision that once you've had a public hearing at the P&Z level, that there will not be a continued public hearing at the council level. There will only be deliberation. In that instance, no, there cannot be public comment, because the public hearing stage is at the P&Z level. You guys have reviewed your packets, et cetera, et cetera. There have been exceptions to that where it is of such public importance, as it were, that I've recommended to prior city councils, maybe you ought to hold a second public hearing, which you can do on certain things. So that's one example. As to things that are on the agenda that never had a public hearing, like the water bottle. Really, that was the best example you can come up with?
It's what's in front of me, sorry.
Okay. It is in your option as to whether you wish to hold public comment on something that you guys haven't deliberated yourselves for. One of the reasons why your constituents contact you prior to the meetings, and we have those public disclosures and stuff like that, is that they are encouraged to contact you about things that are of importance to them that aren't actually going to be set for a public hearing and all that. So that's entirely up to you. I can only tell you that I have no legal opinion. I'm not giving you a legal opinion on that because it is permissible. I do know that most city councils and county commissioners, et cetera, form of government, if it's on the agenda for that evening, they generally do not want to receive public comment on those types of things. That is not, there is no legal prohibition for that, except in the instances I've given you.
Which apply basically strictly to land use at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big one.
The largest chunk of that is.
That's the big one, yeah.
Understood.
My lens that I look through is if there's an applicant, or if there's somebody that's of the public that is requesting the something or other, it's not quite fair if there's not a formal public comment period for them to get blindsided by somebody who wants to tug your ear, which is exactly why we have, in the beginning of those agendas, has somebody contact you about this. There's a due process element, so it's not just limited to P&Z type issues. And so, that's why I'm giving you this yes or no answers. I can envision scenarios where it would be inappropriate.
Yeah. Councilman Brennan.
For the record, I'll just repeat, from day one, I've been a full advocate of having it at the beginning, because I do care about what the constituents think, similar to like the bar opening up, beside the church. Like, I wanted to hear from the people before that happened. I mean, stuff on our agenda, like as maybe a more specific example, if Shasta's employees want to come and say, please support our grant request, like, what's wrong with that? If the firefighters and police officers come and say, please keep this amongst city staff, what's the problem with that? I'm in full support of moving it to the beginning with restrictions as required by law.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla.
I'd like to make a motion to move public comment to the beginning of the agenda.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
All right.
By beginning, I'm assuming you mean after roll call and.
Oh, that's such a legal answer.
Before the consent.
Yeah,
agenda.
exactly, yes.
Before the consent.
And new business and old business.
All right. Councilman Workla, item number 12, deliberation decision regarding spending limit.
Yeah. So I brought up the mayor's spending limit again to help educate me in the community on exactly how much it is and how the process works. So for example, what's the limit? How often can it be utilized? Where, how, when do these transfer of funds happen? And I would like examples of recent transfers. Is there a resolution that we have handy of what the limit is right now?
I don't have a spending limit. I guess I'm lost. I don't have a discretionary spending limit. Is that what you're saying?
Do you have the ability, the power to pull a certain said amount from one budget to another, if you've deemed something that doesn't need to go through council?
No, nothing. Everything has to come back to council if they're going to transfer or try to move money. Like, EF tonight.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
If I could ask Paula for a little more specification, because I had this conversation with you about there may be some discretion to move, I might be getting this wrong, within departments, but not amongst departments.
Mayor and council. So, for instance, the snow removal line in street department is going to be overdrawn. No one foresaw the snow coming this year. It's going to be overdrawn, I think, about $5,000. So, the public works director will have to, within the street department, say, I'm not going to purchase this piece of equipment or replace something because I know I have to adjust for that 5,000 overdraw. So we could say, Public Works Director, you can move money from water, wastewater to pay for that because that is not legal. Any transfers that we have come back to you. So we have one transfer that is approved during the budget process. That will come to you after we receive our large tax check in January. We haven't received it yet. Once we receive it, there will be a memo coming back to you regarding that transfer, which was approved during the budget process. There are, however, journal entries. So if the Parks Department coded something incorrectly, it was the ice melt that was for the city, and somehow that bill got coded incorrectly, then we will journal entry that to the correct department. So those aren't transfers, those are journal entry corrections.
How did the caboose get moved then? Just explain that to me. How did the funding for the caboose get moved and then the concrete to put it on?
So, Councilwoman Workla, the caboose, there was in the budget workbook in 22-23 under parks, there was, and I was going to find it, in the capital improvement plan, and I'm sorry, I'm fumbling around with this. There is a line that says Railroad Park, $35,000.
Okay.
So that was Railroad Park, so that paid for what was happening in there. There's also, let me see that, pull up. Yeah, sorry. Oh, you have to flip to the page. So I'm assuming you're addressing the invoices?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the other invoice, so that was $35,000, and that was a capital asset that was budgeted into the capital improvement.
So it came out of the CIP?
Yes.
Okay.
There's also, on a second invoice, same vendor, a buildings and ground improvement. So that was for stamped concrete plaza around the caboose. So that was ADA compliance.
That was always planned to do in buildings and grounds. However, the caboose moved, so we had to extend the sidewalk down. It was always planned to extend the sidewalk down or farmer's market.
Find the exact spot.
Does that help explain it?
It's all coming out of the CIP, is what you're saying?
Not the buildings and grounds. The buildings and grounds come out of buildings and grounds. And so that was an improvement that had already been discussed. We were gonna extend the sidewalk down for farmer's market. That was in buildings and grounds because it's not a new asset to the city. This is an improvement to the grounds. Does that help? Okay.
So every department, they have their budget, they put in all their expenditures, or not expenditures, but when we do the budget, council looks at it, so yep, I like it all. Now, if they want to deviate or change from it, they need to come back and ask you guys.
Which would be item F, the approval of parks to request new playground equipment. So originally, if you look at the memo Miguel drafted, it will show you what he originally thought that
Yeah,
playground.
I saw that.
That presentation, and he's like, hey, I can't help the cost increase. So it's all in that capital improvement. He's gonna use those lines to adjust for that cost increase.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Okay, so where I have a problem with this, and I think that we need to be a little bit more clear when we're coming in on our 23-24 budget, is that railroad park facilities is a very broad definition, and it was used to move the caboose. Council was not asked about it. Council was not informed that the caboose was going to be moved. I understand that eventually down the road, your plan was to move the caboose. But we did not get a memo saying railroad park facilities is going to move the caboose and pour concrete. So that's where I have a problem with, you have up to $50,000 discretionary, which is the wrong word. The other thing is, so I think that anything, I think anything over 10,000, maybe even 5, needs to always just have a memo, quickly be an email from Tiffany or Paula or you, saying, hey, we're moving this, because railroad park facilities does not spell out concrete and moving the caboose. The caboose was moved rather quickly, and it just so happened that you happen to have that money sitting in that CIP plan. So, and where'd you say the other one came out of, Paula? I'm sorry. The
Buildings
19.
and grounds.
Just a question real quick.
Yeah, please.
Councilman Brennan.
Councilwoman Garvey, for clarification, are you asking for simply a memo to tell us, or a memo and an agenda item to request it?
Well, when you approve a budget, you approve it based on what the department heads, tell us how we're going to spend that money, right? So when money gets spent in a different manner than what we initially approved, yeah, I want to know. Because I had several people ask me about the caboose. I'm like, I have no idea. I didn't even know it was getting moved. Until you guys finally said, oh, you're going to see a crane or something down the road. And I was like, oh, well. And the other thing, that will help the council be more involved in what's going on in the city. I know you guys are the grand planners, but, and I do like the caboose where it's located, don't get me wrong. But this money and this invoice, these 2 invoices, were for the same project, split differently. And they all were for the same project. And then again, going back to the railroad park concrete, you took it out of buildings and grounds because there happened to be money right there and you could pay for that project. So I want more transparency on when, I understand that buildings and grounds is a broad budget. I have a plan, I'm going to redo the park. Great, you come to us at budget time, I want $200,000 to redo the park. Well, I want to make sure that money's used to redo the park. Because time after time, I look in here and I'm like, that money wasn't even spent on how I thought it was going to be spent and approved. So I think, again, anything over 5 or 10 needs to just memo to us, and if it's over 10, then yeah, it needs to come to a council meeting. So.
For approval?
Yes. Yeah, because it's not being spent. This caboose moving, we can say it was in the CIP all day long, but railroad park facilities doesn't say move the caboose.
So you want it more defined in the next
Absolutely.
budget? So
Yes.
24, 25,
Yes.
you want everything lined out?
Yes,
Okay.
because that brings me back to, and this is a little bit on a different subject, but, you know, I questioned the $700,000 that Public Works has for engineering, and I couldn't get a specific, this is what it's gonna be used for. And so then, what happens is you have this money floating in this budget, and if it's not used for railroad park facilities, you have the freedom to use it how you want to.
No, if it says.
It's
Railroad
budgeted.
Park, yeah.
It's budgeted, and you used it on railroad park, but you didn't necessarily use it on the facilities, unless you want to call the caboose a facility, but concrete, moving it was not a facility. So, that's my ask. Thank you, Paula.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Workla?
So would this create then a resolution, I guess legal, would this request then create a resolution for what Councilwoman Garvey's requesting?
We'd have to amend the purchasing policy.
So you want to.
It's the
I'm just
purchasing
asking what
policy.
it created.
Yeah.
So there's no current resolution now is what I just learned, right? There's no current resolution that states the mayor has up to $50,000 to transfer. Okay. Would this proposal create a resolution?
Mayor.
Hang on a second, let him answer the question.
I don't think so, because what I think, and you correct me if what I'm hearing is wrong, is more detail in the budget as to define what it is. I'm a little bit scared of I think it's a point well taken that to have things more defined out as to what's in the budget and what it's actually going to be used for. If it's in the budget, then having it come through for so at first you said notification, then you said approval. What you're in essence doing is you're amending the budget, arguably, and then that gets that's where it starts getting a little crazy. And so if it's a notification of 5,000 or 10,000, whatever, I suppose you could do it as part of either modifying the purchasing policy, or if you want to make it a resolution, that's fine too. All a resolution is, unlike an ordinance, is basically the city council saying, here's what our new policy is moving forward. So if you want to make it a resolution, that's great. I get a little bit worried if we're talking about, in essence, amending the budget every single time money's going to be spent on something.
Mayor.
You should get more detailed in your budget process.
Yeah, Councilmember Brennan first.
I'm sorry.
She can go. That's fine.
Councilwoman Workla,
So-
Councilwoman Garvey.
Absolutely, and so that's my whole point. But you get a little worried about that, but we just amended our budget on item F by adding playground equipment and moving it from Optimus Park to a Gary Park. So it happens all the time.
Okay.
Right? Am I,
If you're saying that every time a certain financial number is
No.
reached, that you're going to be amending the budget, okay.
if it's not being used on what it was intended to be used on, yes, on that item, yes, absolutely, I would like to know. Because we got it from Parks and Rec.
But the way that's triggered is by making I guess the initial part of your observation was that the budget is too vague.
I've
And
always
so
thought that,
if you
yes.
make it more specific and now you want to change what the money's being used for, then then now you got your amending your budget process, and then it's fine. But if it's vague and then every time an expenditure is going to be done, that's when it can get a little crazy.
Right, and Mayor, I'll finish off with, I think that what this will help do also is that the council can have a say in some of these things that moving the caboose, building an amphitheater, some of these different things that have happened over and over that we all kind of sit here and go, like, what's happening and why is this happening? And it's not that I want to amend the budget, but we probably every third meeting have something that essentially amends our budget. Money's being moved where we initially approved it to something else.
Mayor.
So, and then I think what we need to do is amend the purchasing policy, the mayor's purchasing policy.
And
It's
you want
not-
a resolution on
It's not my
transparency.
purchasing policy, it's the city's purchasing
Right.
policy for all department
Right,
heads.
I understand, it's in the budget,
Councilman
I get it.
Harjo.
I think we've seen as part of, trying to find the specifics of item F on our agenda today, that there is an established process and procedure for notifying the council of moving funds within a budget in an appropriate fashion. I think it is within the purview of the council to have the similar presentation of, hey, we have defined a new focus that was not in focus at the time that this budget was drafted, and we found a new need or an emergency need that we need to pull from these budget lines. I feel like it is appropriate to have similar presentation to what we've been offered in agenda item F tonight. I think that's fair to the people who were spending their money. I think it's fair to the council. I think it's fair to our department heads that we stick with a process, and this process shows that it works.
Councilman Brennan.
Tiffany, would you distribute the purchasing policy to the new council, like all four of us, so we can all be refreshed on it?
Oh, this is the one you handed me yesterday.
We should all have this as well. This is the state code.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Kirby.
So I'd like to give a couple different examples of extra money that is in the admin budget, which essentially is your city hall budget, that could get, without us having a memo or an idea, that could get spent on different things than what we had. I mean, you have, like, say, for example, you have $60,000 sitting in the IT contract, or, to hire a new IT person, you had $100,000. Well, we haven't hired a new IT person, so we still have that $100,000 sitting there.
We hired an IT person.
He started.
He started Monday.
Oh, wow, thanks for letting me know, guys. We have an IT person. Okay, so great, so that's gonna be spent. But that's my point is, you know, meeting schools and dues. If you only use $10,000 of the 26, then you have $16,000 left to play with and do what you want.
No, that is not true.
Well,
If
but that's
it's
how
going
it's
to be
perceived.
changed, it's got to come back to the council.
Well, the goose never came back to the council.
It didn't have to.
Why? Because it was spent in a different manner.
It wasn't, it was spent on Railroad Park, wasn't it? Not on an asset. So we can go around, you know what? I don't care. So all I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna tell you guys this. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to have more council meetings, because I've got, let's say a pump goes out and it's 30 grand, you know what I mean?
It's called transparency to your council.
Right. You guys are in charge of the budget.
That's what we're
Well, you know what? I don't care. You guys do what you want. But this discretion that says that I have this discretionary fund is not true. Everything comes back to the council. Everything, Mayor. So, Councilman Harjo.
When it comes to discussion about a lift station that has gone down, Public Works operates as its enterprise fund. It's self-funding in its repair, in that sense. We're gaining M&O. Those are emergency and public safety things that fall outside of this discussion. I just want to make that clear today.
No, it'd fall in these purchasing policy agreements.
Correct, but when it comes to the discretion of needing to repair an expensive item, that falls under its same line item in the budget. We have that process today, do we not?
Mayor?
And it's fully supported. Like, those things, when it comes to a matter of public safety, I think is a different discussion than the use of parks. Like, I just want to make clear that that's an example that's not apples to apples.
I agree. Just, Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey.
for the public to understand, and I apologize, I'm going to read this, I'll try and read it rather quickly. Purchases between $5,000 and $50,000. A request to purchase must be submitted to the mayor for approval, and the expenditure must be within the department's appropriated budget, which has already been approved by city council. For purchases of this amount, the city can purchase from any vendor believed to provide the best value and shall purchase be guided by the best interests of the city. However, the mayor may request informal quotes be provided from more than one vendor for the purpose of comparison. This purchase must be accompanied by inventory tracking available to the city clerk. Now, purchases over $50,000, the mayor and the council also must comply, which this purchase conveniently was separated out. It was $54,000 and it was separated into two invoices for one job. So that's why I think this just needs to be changed. I think the $50,000 needs to come down between, I think this should read purchases between 5,000 and maybe 10. On this, on page 7, the first paragraph.
Mayor? Councilman Brennan.
I'm going to make a motion to table this item to our next regular city council meeting so the council can have an opportunity to read this and discuss on it after having the education of this document.
Second.
All right, it's been motion, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Garvey?
Nay.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wokla?
I'm thinking. Aye, because we'll talk about it then next.
Councilman Arjo?
Aye.
All right. Going down to action item number 13, Highway 30 lift station. Want to take on Chris or Tiff or?
So, as I talked about earlier, Mr. Mayor, Council, during our excessive amount of water flow, the Highway 30 lift station, both pumps failed. It's a redundant pump system. There are 2 pumps in there. The way that the system operates is one pump fires up when it hits a max flow, pumps it down. The next time we hit max flow, the second pump kicks in, so they work in tandem, and the concept is that we don't overload one pump through, an event like this. The pumps are 15-year lifespan is what we've been told by a couple of different contractors out there that provide these things. They were installed in 2020 or in 2001, so we definitely got our money worth out of them. We reached out for 3 bids to replace. We haven't received any of those bids back, but we know that the base cost to replace a pump is $30,000. There's 2 pumps, so we can estimate $60,000. That does not include the control panels or labor. So we know this is going to be, as a guess, as a swag, $100,000 replacement. If it's the council's wish, we could replace one, and we could do another one down the road. However, that's not the way the system is designed to operate optimally. So as the department director, I would recommend we replace both of them at one time. And I do not, like I said, I don't have the quotes back yet. We're waiting on the vendors.
Mayor? Councilman Brennan?
Chris, Paul, a question for both of you. Which line item specifically in your budget would cover this expense?
Well, capital improvement would cover it.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
We have a capital reserve line. So, yeah, so in your capital reserve line, you have 2.8 left.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would come out of that capital reserve line.
Okay.
So that wasn't anything that you knew about during the budget process, because we do it in June. So it would come out of that line instead of one of the lines you already approved equipment to come out of.
All right. And so in this particular request, if it is in the 100,000 range, it's not going to come out of any other line item?
Yeah, it'll come out of capital reserve.
Okay, thank you.
And just if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I've already directed both of our water and our wastewater supers to start looking at the rest of our system to see if we have other systems that have exceeded their life expectancy, so that we can budget appropriately for them.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Did you put this on the agenda as an action item for approval?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
The request for 2 lift station repairs.
Second.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Do you want to add an up to amount? Or,
Not on this one.
okay, I'm just asking the question.
You'll use the best bid.
Just asking the question. Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wolcott?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
All right. Recognize the person in the audience. Come on, bud.
You first.
Okay, this question is for you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
You had your meeting at the last council meeting. Did you watch the review of the council meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you heard me talk about the micro drenching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I do not have Facebook, so I heard that you're going to do LID number 2. Open up LID number 2 for the fiber, is that correct?
Keep going, bud.
Is that correct? You did make that, you said LID number 2 is going to open up, correct?
No.
So what did you say? Tell me, help me out.
So, bud, this isn't a question and answer, you know.
Okay.
But I'm going to call you with all your questions. So give me all your questions, and I'm going to call you, and I'll answer all your
Yeah, I'll tell you,
questions.
tonight, I want to make it very public
Uh-huh.
that the micro trenching is going to hinder the street department, the water department, the fire department, and all the contractors in Mountain Home that have to work above that fiber that's 2 inches deep by the curb, or 6 inches deep. And I was told that you're ahead of the fiber, so who's going to inspect these conduit depths? It's supposed to be 30 inches underneath the road and 18 inches across the property line, and also for easements. This is a whole different thing for easements. All the communication on all the property lines or properties, they have an easement already in place. You are not following those easements. So I'm very upset about this micro trenching. It will not work. It will never work. And 4 to 5, 8 years down the line, when they have to do the road, you're going to tear it all up. And then your fiber is going to be out for weeks. I promise you. You can't fix that stuff fast if you wipe out 4 or 5 sections. So please keep that in mind with your design. That's all I have.
Thanks,
And I know that this is before the workshop, but this is very important.
So, bud, how about you and I go take a trip? We'll sit and
No.
talk about everything.
Nope.
Okay.
Because the way that you've done this so far, you pushed it under your own agenda, and I disagree with it. So you and I together will not work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, bud. Don?
We talked about the earlier one with the trash trucks about, and this last one with the pumps, on 2 different deals or not?
Well, you can talk.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, the trash trucks, what roads are they hauling on? Can we put a tarp on the back of the truck after it is loaded, so we ain't scattering this stuff up and down the interstate or our backcountry roads? It's not getting picked up. I see it getting worse out there. Who picks up the canisters around town here? When do they get emptied? Sometimes they're pretty full. I'd like to hear some more information about the airport out there. They never got to do their deal with the their, I forget what they're called, but their council or the airport authorities to how the airport needs to be navigated with the airplanes and that. And I'd like to hear some more about some of that situation. These 2 pumps or whatever's going down, are them for our sewage waste? Or are they for our storm drain waste? Are they getting ate up by sand? Are they piston pumps? What type of pumps are they? How much rectification are we gonna have to do to make these things work? New versus old? And then I had something on that other guy that left on Bradford. I think they should have to go clear up to where they cut on Foster there, because the new versus the old part of the pavement, that old pavement ain't gonna match up. It may match up, but it ain't gonna hold up, because that's 30 years older almost. So, if anything, it should be the whole width like they were saying. And the curb cut, or for the curb and gutter, normally you prep that in place and then you pave the asphalt to it. I don't know whether they're gonna form that up prior, but then there's an outfit, they shoot grade and everything. They come through with the deal and grade it and set their stakes, their forms, they pour that, and then you pour that, form the asphalt to it. That's it.
Thanks, Tom. Come on down, sir.
Name's Lyle Furch. I'm recently moved here. Been tracking a few things. I just want to thank the council members tonight. I'm seeing a change. You're calling the executive to task. You're representing the taxpayer. I feel much more comfortable. I've been here about 3 years, and it's looking better. I want to thank each of you
Thanks,
for
Lyle.
having my back.
Thank you.
Come on, down.
Hi, my name is Kathy Brooks, and I want to say congratulations to all of you for where you're sitting. You're going to do a great job. I can see positive changes coming. City did a great job with the streets. This last snow, Armageddon, you want to call it? I only got my plow or my driveway plowed in twice, but it was minor. So I wasn't the only cat that was out there digging. I've seen lots of people, lots of community people out there helping. Appreciate what you're doing. Don't say you don't care, Mayor. That's a shit attitude to have. Twice in a minute you sat here and told everybody in this room you don't care.
I'm sorry. All right. All comments, council?
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
Yeah, I just want to make sure the public knows that the fiber workshop was supposed to be today. It did get moved. It's now going to be on February 13th at 4 p.m. here, so.
All right, executive session? Mayor? Councilman Harjo?
Much like all of us, we've heard some rumblings about discussions happening around the airport. One of our attendants said it today. I was approached by someone who never supplied their name at one point and mentioned that the Airport Advisory Committee meetings are unruly at times. I started doing a little brainstorming about this topic myself and looking at our meeting minutes for the Airport Advisory Committee, the agendas for the Airport Advisory Committee. On our city site, we don't have the entries for the entire year of 2023 for meeting minutes for that advisory committee. I understand that they meet quarterly according to the website. I would like to add this as a discussion and decision for the next agenda to assign a city council liaison to that advisory committee.
Mayor?
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Gore.
Sorry, it wasn't me trying to interrupt, but
Sorry, I thought you had more.
I would like to expound on that a little bit. I actually would like to see liaisons be appointed to all the departments. Again, we used to have that, and I'm not sure why it went away or why it dissolved. It doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. Going forward, I think that would help the council be out there with the department heads. It's hard to sometimes for us to just show up and hey, Chris, what do you got going on out there when he's busy? And in that way, we could all bring back to everyone and to ourselves the inner workings of what's going on with the city. So I would say, I would like to entertain it being to all the departments that we have liaisons, if the council's willing to do that. It's going to be a little time consuming, but I think it's good for us.
I would fully agree with that notion. So if we could add that as well as an agenda item, I think the advisory committee is one topic, and then city departments internally might be a second separate agenda item. If we can add those, that'd be great.
Mayor. Councilman yes and yes. Councilwoman Workla?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'll support that for the third one. I would just add that I've been here during the old when we did have specific council members to specific departments. I'm just fine with that, but I also don't want anybody up here to think that that's going to stop me from talking to any department head.
No.
100% know that. So
There's nobody stopping you.
they're all gonna get.
Let's get that clear.
They're all gonna get grilled at an appropriate time.
For the record, you were about to have trash delivered.
Plastic bags will be out there
Plastic
soon.
bags are coming to your house.
Okay. Jeff?
I got it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we enter an executive session pursuant to 74-206. Is that right?
B and F.
I got the B and F. Was I, okay,
Second.
thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
All right.
Had to remember that code out of the back of my head.